Good evening. Thank you, Roger and Ali. So, like many of us in this line of work, we come to it through our own experience and our own stories. This is a small part of my story. So 8 years ago, at the end of a sexually dysfunctional relationship, I didn't know it, but I was afraid to touch or be touched by anyone. I was having sex, fine, but I didn't allow it to touch me. I didn't know that there was a fear hangover from that relationship until a Turkish massage. I was excited to go and I relaxed quite quickly. The woman's touch was so present, so heartfelt, and so genuine that it touched into feelings of loneliness and hurt and isolation that until at that moment I really didn't know was stored in my body. I cried tears of anger, grief and sorrow. Fast forward to 2018 and everything's fine. Short version. And things are very different for me now. I'm in touch with my body, I'm more aware of the emotions moving through me, and I'm no longer afraid to touch, to be touched, and to feel. A turning point in that long journey from fear to feeling came during a transformative tantra retreat, where through structured touch exercises and the strong container provided by the workshop, I was able to learn more about myself in that one single week than I had in years of talking therapy. Since then, I've gone on to train in tantra, kink, sexological bodywork and consent. And as Roger said in the introduction, I'm now a conscious sexuality body worker. Try saying that when you've had a drink. Essentially what that means is that I work with people through a combination of coaching, talking therapy and through the medium of touch. What I find most significant about this work that I want to share with you this evening is that with all the bells and whistles around how can we have better orgasms and how can we last longer in bed, it's easy to forget how fundamentally important touch is to all of us, to our lives, how we touch, why we touch, and the recognition that more often than not, for most of us, our touch is either an expression of love or a call for love. So let me introduce two ideas, touch deprivation and skin hunger. So touch deprivation is a condition that involves little or no stimulation by way of physical contact with other people. And the term skin hunger relates to touch deprivation and is a recognition that as humans become more connected through technology, what's actually happening is the lack of physical touch is making us more and more lonely. The benefits of positive touch include releasing the feel-good hormone oxytocin, increases levels of the neurotransmitters dopamine and serotonin that help us to regulate our mood. Touch is shown to reduce anxiety and stress, boost the immune system, lower blood pressure, inspire positive thinking, and engender trust. Waitresses who touch customers lightly on the shoulder, hand or arm earn more tips. Touch is so powerful that studies have shown that premature babies in intensive care units who have regular skin-to-skin contact will thrive more than babies who do not. And our nearest relatives in the animal kingdom, the bonobo monkeys, they use play, laughter and touch to reduce aggression and create peace. Bonobos have more harmonious communities than any other ape tribe, including humans. Nurturing, positive and loving touch is essential in babies for growth of physical abilities, language and cognitive skills, and social emotional competency. And infants who have more physical contact with caregivers in the first 6 months of life have a better mental development. Indeed, touch deprivation during childhood is often associated with increased aggression, both in childhood and through into adulthood. Puberty, hormones, and the need for bonding outside of the caregiver relationship during teenage years compels some of us, most of us, with a sense of urgency into exploring sex. And it's at this point, certainly in Western culture, that touch becomes almost entirely associated with sex. And this association continues for most of our lives, with touch and sex remaining synonymous for many people. And yet, motivated by an unconscious or undeclared need for nurturing touch and cuddles, and in our longing for connection, we often get into having sex. And many of us initiate or partake in sex when what we really needed was to offer and to receive some touch. Sex is so conflated with touch that I'm no longer surprised when I hear female clients say, "I don't let him touch me anymore because it'll lead to sex." And the corresponding, "My wife doesn't understand me." If this is the status quo for many people, it's hardly a surprise that longer-term relationships can stagnate. But when we look at positive touch and are able to separate it from sex, it can become a way to build bridges between us that can reclaim intimacy, that can bring comfort and understanding in relationships. So, as well as sensual and erotic touch, Barbara Carrellis talks about healing touch and nurturing touch. I'd like to introduce another, which is affection. Touches on the shoulder, cuddles and a stroke on the cheek. And then probably the most important type of touch I like to talk about is presence. Remember or imagine a conversation you've had with a friend. They have switched off the TV, their phone is on silent, and they're giving you their full attention. Compare this to a conversation where your friend is looking at their phone, the kids are interrupting, and the radio is on full blast. The first conversation is a friend in presence, the second is not. Which would you prefer? And the principle is the same with presence in touch. Would you rather be touched by someone running through the shopping list in their head, or someone with an open heart? So how can we get better touch in our lives? Well, I'm sure it will come as no surprise to you that it starts with us. How can we up our touch game? Here's a solo exercise that I developed with a client who, at the time we began working together, described himself as numb, cut off. He had a fear of connecting with his body, where so much, like me, where so much hurt and pain was stored, and fear of being overwhelmed by his own feelings. However, using this technique has slowly, bit by bit, enabled him to touch himself and be touched in a way that he'd never experienced before. So I'm going to invite you to have a go. So, and just notice, without any judgment, any feelings or sensations that come up for you. So my invitation is to rub your hands together for about 10 seconds. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath, long and slow. And now place one of your hands somewhere on your body through a thin layer of clothes or under them, and just breathe. And the invitation is to notice. Can your hand feel the aliveness of your body? Can your body feel the aliveness of your hand? When you're ready, if you'd like to take a breath and come back into the room. Doing this oh so simple exercise really can help us bring us home to our bodies and the power of touch. And we can simply connect to our bodies every day, maybe in the shower, or simply sleeping, laying in bed, or standing at the cream cake counter. Oh yes. See if you can say hello to your body, and see if you can ask your body what it wants. Does it want a cream cake, or does it want a luscious, ripe, juicy peach? And then self-pleasure, which for many of us can be very functional or goal-orientated. One man told me that his self-pleasuring would start with a foot massage to relieve pain before he touched the rest of his body. So it is possible for us to take time to say hello to other areas of our body with connecting, loving touch, and breathe a little longer before reaching for our genitals. An authentic tantric massage can help bring anyone closer to the living and breathing experience of our bodies. Tantralink.com, make a note, lists trusted professionals. Always talk with a practitioner about what you want to experience before booking a session. And George Monbiot writes that contact reduces physical pain. Affection is a powerful analgesic. So how do we share touch with others without being locked up? Seriously, it cannot be stressed enough how important it is to create understanding and seek consent before touching anyone. For anyone looking to explore what we really mean by consent, then bettymartin.org has the most excellent free resources, and many practitioners like me in this room can help you navigate this vitally important area, and it's a lot more fun than the word consent implies. The average UK hug lasts 2 to 3 seconds, so how can we start sharing melting hugs that last 20 seconds or more, which enables oxytocin to be released? And then there are cuddle workshops. These are non-sexual, fully clothed spaces where safe and platonic boundary touch is shared between adults. These are facilitated by experienced leaders in London, Manchester and around Yorkshire. And for the really adventurous, there's Free Hugs campaign, a social movement which combats isolation and other social issues through random acts of kindness. Could you stand in the street with a sign offering and receiving free hugs with strangers? And so I leave you this evening to return to my experiences of touch. Touch helped me to unlock the stalemate in my life. Touch enables my clients to journey into healing for themselves. Embracing the power of positive touch can help us access our own wisdom, learning and growth. I've seen touch as the catalyst for the light that radiates out from us and touches the lives of others. And so my invitation is to positively touch yourself. Allow yourself to be touched. Touch others. And in so doing, help infuse the world with more love. One body, one heart, one soul at a time. Thank you.